My sworn enemy Ethan faked amnesia. Clinging, sweetheart. Kiss me. He kissed me, my cheeks scarlet. Fetching water. I heard him, will this amnesiac act work? His strategist laughed, wedding bells soon. Me? Welcome to my channel. If you like this story, please click to subscribe. There are more wonderful stories waiting for you to listen to. Chapter 1. Hannah Bennett and Ethan Sullivan represented New York's rival dynasties. Our family's feud originated not from business but romance. My mother remained the unrequited love of Ethan's father. Perhaps spite motivated the Sullivans purchasing the estate across from ours. Those Sullivans are rotten to the core. My father warned since childhood. Not just bad. He'd pause dramatically. Catastrophically terrible. This lifelong indoctrination colored my perception, though true animosity sparked later. During our prep school years, Ethan reigned as notorious heir, handsome, wealthy, trailed by sycophants. Any boy who dared approach me found himself cornered by Ethan's entourage. Countless potential romances withered before blooming. Can't let you have happiness after what your family stole from mine? I finally confronted him tearfully after another sabotaged flirtation. His smirk dissolved into panicked vulnerability. Hannah. That's not. I fled, unaware this confrontation would exile him from my life. Friends whispered he'd transferred schools, relocated apartments. 3 years passed before our paths crossed again at a charity gala. There he stood, the once brash troublemaker transformed into a commanding presence. Custom Tom Ford suit accentuating his athletic frame. Crystal tumbler in hand as he navigated corporate sharks with easy confidence. Time had sculpted the boy into a man radiating magnetic authority. Every movement calculated yet effortless. The women nearby gazed at him with infatuation. I sighed softly. If I hadn't grown up with him and known his true nature, I might have fallen for him too. Undeniably. Ethan radiated charm tonight. His peripheral vision seemed to catch me. Lips quirking in a barely there smirk as his eyes locked onto mine. Our gazes collided. I immediately turned away, muttering speak of the devil under my breath. Every encounter with Ethan meant trouble in my memory, so I strategically positioned myself in a distant corner, plotting my early exit. Long time no see. That achingly familiar voice materialized behind me, forcing a smile. I turned. 3 years isn't that long. I pivoted to leave, but Ethan's hand closed around my wrist. Still cold to your childhood, sweetheart? His laughter-rich voice dropped conspiratorially. That hurts. Hannah. The Sullivan and Bennett family feud was society's favorite drama. Spectators leaned in, anticipating our usual fireworks. Swallowing irritation, I beamed up at Ethan with crescent moon eyes. Everyone's watching. What mischief are you planning now? Without warning, Ethan yanked me forward. I stumbled against his broad chest, his woodsy cologne overwhelming as he murmured about his 3-year hiatus abroad. And no serious relationships, he emphasized, sparking confused whispers around us. I froze. What the hell was he playing at? Shoving him away. I lost balance and crashed to the floor. Damn it! Ethan shrugged off his Armani jacket to cover my legs, sweeping me into a bridal carry. The crowd parted as he marched toward the balcony lounge, depositing me on a velvet sofa. Kneeling before me, he cradled my ankle, calloused thumb brushing emerging bruises. You're hurt, he rasped, eyes suspiciously bright. When I tried pulling free, my phone trilled. Seeing the caller ID, I answered with honeyed warmth. Still out. Jake. I'll video call you later? Hanging up, I found Ethan's stormy gaze burning into me. Who was that? My online boyfriend. I blurted without thinking. We're meeting in person soon. As I fled, Ethan's growl followed me over my dead body. I've been guarding against everything. But who knew online romance would slip through? His voice was too low, and I didn't catch his words. Turning around, I asked, "What did you say? Were you cursing at me?" He shook his head, forcing an exaggerated fake smile. "Nothing important." What a piece of work. He definitely muttered something nasty. Eager to get home for my scheduled call with my online sweetheart, I let it slide. The moment I left, Ethan immediately dialed his buddy Jake. Jake, ever the problem solver, quickly devised a scheme. When meetup day arrived, I slipped into a sundress with white high heels, taking extra care with my appearance. Halfway there, Jake suddenly called. "Hannah, it's bad. Ethan's in the ER after a car crash. You need to get to the hospital now." My breath hitched before confusion set in. Why call me? Shouldn't you contact his parents? They're overseas with their phones off. I'm out of state, please just check on him. Abandoning my plans, I rushed to the hospital. The sight of Ethan swathed in bandages, a modern mummy with his face miraculously intact, made me pause. Had the driver intentionally spared his pretty features? "Are you okay?" I tentatively approached. His lashes fluttered before he lunged to embrace me. "You came, babe?" I froze. Since when did I become his? A doctor entered, explaining Ethan's amnesia had me cast as his devoted wife. Humoring him aids recovery, came the clinical advice. Ethan transformed into a docile puppy, soft-eyed, compliant, radiating vulnerability. When he lifted arms demanding hug, I reluctantly obliged, remembering the doctor's warning. No sooner had I pulled away than he pouted. Kiss? Warm lips captured mine before I could protest, melting my resistance. As I sank into the mattress, his breath ghosted my ear. "Your turn to kiss me, sweetheart." Tears brimmed his reddened eyes. "Please?" My resolve crumbled. Despite our lifelong rivalry, Ethan had always been my fierce protector. Memories surfaced of schoolyard bullies retreating under his murderous glare, only for me to later find him bloodied in an alleyway brawl. That night, I'd nervously fingered my uniform hem, murmuring gratitude to his bruised face. Now, watching his trembling lower lip, childhood defenses dissolved. His face flushed, his eyes darting away as he hurried past me. "What's there to thank? Those punks had beef with me anyway," he muttered stubbornly. "This wasn't about you." Even so, I wasn't born yesterday. I knew Ethan had intervened for my sake. The realization softened me momentarily. "I'll give you one kiss," I told him, watching his eager nod. The moment our lips met, his arms locked around my neck. What began as chaste quickly turned ravenous, all teeth and desperation. Heat flooded my cheeks as I squirmed. "You little snake." I said one kiss. He ignored my protest, his smoldering gaze holding mine with startling intensity. My breath hitched. That look, it felt like being stared at by someone who'd loved me for decades. His palm cradled my head as his mouth moved against mine with renewed purpose, until my struggles dissolved into helpless compliance. When we finally broke apart, our foreheads touching, I could hear my own heartbeat thundering. Loud, insistent, dangerous. A treacherous thought surfaced. This amnesiac version of Ethan seemed almost endearing. If our families weren't sworn rivals, if he'd stopped tormenting me, maybe. His thumb brushed my burning cheek. "Hannah?" I shoved him away, scrambling for composure. "I'll fetch hot water." The crisp night air did little to cool my thoughts. When I returned to his hospital room, the sight through the glass window froze me mid-step. Ethan lounged on the bed, phone pressed to his ear, legs casually crossed. "You swear this amnesic puppy dog act will work?" His anxious whisper carried through the door. "Last time your ice-cold CEO advice made her bolt. Almost lost my future wife." Memory flashed last week's charity gala. Ethan suddenly grabbing my waist with ridiculous dominant CEO theatrics that sent us both tumbling. So that's why he'd acted so deranged. His conspirator's voice crackled through the receiver. Trust me. This time it's foolproof. Swear. Ethan sat bolt upright. My psychic confirmed it. Start picking wedding colors. Fools. Both of them. I kicked the door open with a bang. Did your psychic predict I'd catch you red-handed? Ethan's phone clattered to the floor. Babe. Let me explain. Don't touch me. I slapped his reaching hands away. Still acting? Who's your babe? Can't quit the charade. Can you? My voice rose with every accusation. Using cheap tricks to mess with me? Unbelievable. What did I ever do to deserve your constant bullying? Ethan's expression shifted, not guilt, but raw panic. Hannah. Please. Save it. 20 years of torment wasn't enough? Now you're manufacturing ways to humiliate me? Tears of fury blurred my vision. What's next? Fake pregnancy? Elaborate kidnapping? He flinched like I'd struck him. You think this is a joke to me? Prove it's not. I challenged. Chest heaving. When have you ever treated me as anything but your personal punching bag? For the first time since childhood, Ethan looked genuinely speechless. Ethan panicked and rushed over, carefully grabbing the hem of my shirt. I'm sorry. I knew you were going to meet your online crush in person. I just lost my mind. He swallowed hard. It was Jake's idea. I shouldn't have listened to him. His accusation shifted into childish resentment. This is all his fault. Neither of us noticed the still-connected phone call. Jake's roar erupted from the speaker. Ethan. You ungrateful bastard. I spent good money hiring that matchmaker for your pathetic ass. And now you're throwing me under the bus? Do you realize Sophie's probably complaining to her best friend about me right now? There goes my shot with Sophie. Jake, Ethan's childhood friend and resident playboy, was every bit as insufferable as Ethan. I couldn't fathom why my sharp-witted best friend Sophie would ever date that smooth-talking womanizer. I angrily pried Ethan's fingers from my shirt and stormed out without a backward glance. Only halfway down the street did I realize I'd left my purse in Ethan's hospital room. Hailing a cab, I fumed all the way back. The scene outside his door froze me in place. Jake leaned against the wall inside, cigarette dangling from his lips. I lingered in the hallway, waiting for them to leave. Was it worth it? Jake's voice carried a rare seriousness. You've loved Hannah for years, but she's never given you a second glance. My breath hitched. The anger from Ethan's deception still clouded my mind, but Jake's words cut through the haze. Ethan loved me? All those years of him pulling my hair in class, sabotaging my dates, accidentally spilling coffee on my white dresses, was that really his twisted version of flirting? Ethan's response came low and raw. Funny, isn't it? Everyone thinks I'm this golden boy who has it all figured out. But around her, I turn into this clumsy idiot. Every time I try to say something nice, it comes out wrong. In high school, I almost confessed a dozen times. He laughed bitterly. Remember when she started crushing on that soccer player? I accidentally tripped him during a game. She cried for hours and called me a monster. After that, I transferred schools. Couldn't bear seeing her look at me with such hatred. Jake snorted. Dude, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Why obsess over one who doesn't want you? Isn't this just pathetic? My father loved Hannah's mother before she married Mr. Bennett, Ethan said quietly. When I asked if he regretted letting her go, he said time heals most wounds, but he still wonders what might have happened if he'd fought harder. As Jake stubbed out his cigarette, confusion wrinkled his brow. The hell does that have to do with anything? Ethan's voice softened like twilight. Some loves aren't about possession. I was born and raised in California. But that doesn't mean I can't admire New England's autumn leaves. Hannah doesn't need to love me back. This is just my autumn. Bullshit. Jake shoved him playfully. You're a Sullivan. You could have any woman in Manhattan. Why fixate on someone who treats you like gum stuck to her shoe? The heart monitor beeped in the silence. When Ethan finally spoke, his words arrowed straight through the door into my chest. Love doesn't negotiate. My family's wealth means I don't have to choose between affection and comfort. When I say I'd give everything up for her, I mean it. Jake groaned. You're hopeless. As their footsteps approached the door, I pressed against the cold hospital wall. My mind reeled Ethan's childhood pranks. His sudden transfer junior year. The way he'd materialize at every college party I attended. All those fragmented moments suddenly crystallized into a terrifying new pattern. The door clicked open. I turned and fled. Ethan's confession echoing louder than my heels against linoleum. They opened the door and collided with me head-on. Knowing Ethan had feelings for me, deep, consuming feelings, left my emotions tangled beyond recognition. I stood frozen, avoiding eye contact as clammy palms gestured toward the table. I came to get my bag. Jake cleared his throat. Actually, I've got somewhere to be. Ethan, make sure Hannah gets home safe? The nervous tap of Ethan's fingers against his thigh betrayed his calm facade. Those earnest eyes widened before he scrambled to retrieve my purse. Hands trembling as he offered it. Can I drive you? He asked with fragile hope. I nodded. His smile bloomed like sunrise. The car ride thickened with awkward silence. My usual sharp-tongued banter died under the weight of his confession. Streetlights flickered across Ethan's profile as he gripped the steering wheel. I'm sorry, he finally said. For lying. Leaning against the window, I watched neon signs blur past. I can't give you what you want right now. My reflection stared back, fractured by raindrops. His chuckle held bitterness. I know. Moonlight caught the sheen in his eyes, red-rimmed and glittering with restraint. For years passed without contact. Ethan inherited the Sullivan empire, transforming it into a Wall Street titan with ruthless boardroom tactics. Society pages praised his Midas touch. But I wondered, was this cold tycoon the same man who'd once doodled love notes during corporate meetings? Meanwhile, I helmed Bennett Enterprises. Birthdays brought mysterious roses to my doorstep with handwritten cards. Year 1, my ordinary youth caught fire the moment I loved you. Year 2, last night's dream, you held me. And for once, I didn't wake up empty. Year 3, may life's storms always part before your light. My queen. Year 4, grateful beyond measure for your existence. Tonight's gala buzzed with speculation about Ethan's attendance. I found him lounging in shadows. Armani suit casually disheveled. The crowd parted as women whispered warnings, don't approach. He blacklisted the Cartwright girl for flirting last quarter. Hannah Bennett. My name sliced through champagne chatter. Ethan's head snapped up. Every eye tracked his transformation, ice melting into wildfire as our gazes locked across the ballroom. His controlled mask slipped, revealing the boy who'd once trembled while handing me roses. I wove through the crowd and spoke to him casually. Long time no see. I remembered years ago when Ethan had been the one to say those words first after our separation. How times had changed that now I initiated the greeting. Ethan abruptly stood up, his long legs knocking against the table corner in his haste. He stumbled toward me, flustered beyond measure. After flexing his fingers to steady himself, he echoed hoarsely, long time no see. Every eye in the banquet hall locked onto us. Whispers rippling through the room. Feeling self-conscious, I gestured toward the open-air balcony. Shall we talk there? The memory of him carrying me to that very balcony's lounge during another gala years ago made me smile involuntarily. Leaning against the transparent glass railing, I watched city lights twinkle across the river as Ethan settled beside me. Fireworks suddenly bloomed above the water, painting the sky in chrysanthemums of light. Have you been well? He asked quietly. I turned with a honeyed smile. You already know the answer. For 4 years. He'd stood vigil outside my mansion like some lovesick sentinel, his lanky silhouette haunting my windowsill night after night. A flush crept up Ethan's neck. I just wanted to glimpse your shadow from afar, he confessed. gaze dropping to his shoes. Those birthday flowers every year, they were from you. Weren't they? The breeze tousled his bangs, scarlet now burning across his cheeks. I didn't sign the cards because I thought you'd hate them. How did you? Your handwriting's unmistakable. As another firework cluster exploded, I whispered, "Want to try dating?" My eyes locked onto his startled ones. You. And me. The pyrotechnics cast Ethan in kaleidoscopic hues as he stood frozen. When comprehension struck, even his ears turned carnation red. Hands trembling, he gripped my shoulders like I might vanish. You mean, be together? For real? Before I could answer, he crushed me against his lean frame, warm breath ghosting over my ear. No take-backs, he murmured with childlike insistence, arms banding tighter. I slid palms over the trim waist I'd secretly admired for years. Our heartbeats thundering in sync. No take-backs. Through every storm since I'd taken over the Bennett family empire, every boardroom mutiny, every sleepless night battling corporate sharks, Ethan had been my silent guardian. His roses arrived not just on birthdays, but on days when loneliness threatened to hollow me completely, while others saw only the Ice Queen CEO. He'd tenderly nurtured the wilting woman beneath, breaking our embrace. I cradled his face and brushed my lips against his. You'll behave from now on? His lashes fluttered innocently. Cross my heart. I'll be so good you'll think I'm angel-born. Really now? I teased. Heard some socialite tried gluing herself to you last month. Ethan blanched, raising a swear hand. My assistant shoved her off before contact. I'm pristine. I swear. Laughing, I ruffled his hair. Relax. I'm joking. The radiant smile he flashed could have outshone the fireworks. When I asked why he looked so pleased, he breathed. Because this feels like a dream. In my actual dreams, I only dared imagine you hugging me. Never this. Intertwining our fingers, I tugged him toward the exit. Walk your girlfriend home. Boyfriend? The distance shouldn't have evaporated so quickly. Yet there we stood at my doorstep, time having folded itself into irrelevance. His awestruck gaze kept darting to our joined hands, as if needing proof this wasn't another fantasy. I squeezed tighter, my once elusive moon now permanently within reach. His gravitational pull finally allowed to anchor us together. One moment we were clinging to each other in the hallway. The next my dad swung the door open. I immediately shoved Ethan away, frantically smoothing my hair. Dad's face turned stormier than a backed-up toilet when he saw Ethan. You two came back together? He demanded, eyeing us suspiciously. Don't tell me you're involved with this Sullivan punk? My pulse raced. Dad had despised the Sullivans since their construction company bankrupted our family business years ago. Keeping my back to him, I shot Ethan a warning look. Ugh. Just my luck. I rolled my eyes dramatically. First time walking home in ages and I run into you? This town's way too small. Looping my arm through Dad's, I added airily. Pure coincidence. Right, Ethan? Ethan's jaw worked silently. I could practically see him warring between blurting out the truth and keeping our secret. Yeah. He finally ground out. Coincidence. Better be. Dad huffed, steering me inside. As we entered our brownstone, Dad launched into his familiar rant. Those Sullivans are walking human garbage. Crooked as corkscrews. The both of them. And let me tell you why. I tuned out the decades-old grudge. By now I could recite his Sullivan family evil deeds monologue backwards, complete with the same 3 recycled insults. Just stay away from them, Hannah. Dad squeezed my shoulder. Promise? Sure thing. I mumbled, escaping to my room. Later, staring at my popcorn ceiling, I texted Sophie, my ride or die since boarding school. We needed to strategize about Dad's Sullivan vendetta before this star-crossed romance imploded. At the coffee shop next morning, I barely opened my mouth before Sophie dropped her bombshell. Jake and I are getting engaged. Save the date. My latte nearly went airborne. The Sophie I knew, the human calculator who'd aced corporate law at 23, wouldn't touch Jake 3 Martini Lunch Thompson with a 10-foot pole. Have you forgotten? I hissed. That time he brought his mistress to your appendectomy? The man's a walking STD. Sophie stirred her espresso. Unfazed. Exactly why he's perfect. We'll have separate wings. Separate lives. No messy feelings. Just tax benefits. When I gaped, she continued, loves your lottery win? Han. My ticket says better luck next life. My spoon clattered. How'd you even know about Ethan? Sophie smirked, sliding her phone across the table. Ethan's social media feed blazed with cringeworthy posts. My high school yearbook photo. A badly photoshopped prom picture where he'd grafted his head onto my date's body. Captioned, always been my girl. Christ. I groaned. He's worse than Dad's Yelp reviews. Sophie snorted. Better start drafting your weary, not star-crossed lover's PowerPoint. You'll need it. So happy. Feels like a dream. His friend from the circle commented, dude, you're spamming the feed. He replied, how'd you know we're together? Someone else commented, is that photo photoshopped? He responded, yep. We're officially dating. I nearly choked seeing one shocking comment, holy shit. You're straight? You've avoided women for years, I totally thought you were gay. Even crazier. Mr. Sullivan, Ethan's dad, actually liked the post. Jake sent an exasperated emoji, chill with the thirst. Bro. Me, I facepalmed awkwardly, sorry. He's special. Sophie chuckled, it's kinda endearing though? Oh right. Sophie asked. Why'd you want to meet? I spilled my family drama. She raised an eyebrow, why not let Ethan handle it? Trust me. That man could negotiate world peace. He's crazy competent, we've collaborated on projects before. Honestly awe-inspiring. My guess? He's been holding back to respect your boundaries. If he's bold enough to post couple pics. He's got a plan. As if on cue. Ethan texted, can we discuss your father? Let me handle this, I promise no drama. I typed back, what's your move? Instant reply, home now? I'll come over with Dad. We've got solutions. I showed Sophie my screen, got a bounce. Before leaving, I hesitated, no regrets about marrying without love? She smiled wistfully, regrets are part of life. Better to laugh than cry. Right? Don't worry about me, I've got titanium resolve. Respecting her choice, I headed out. Rushing home, I found Ethan and his father waiting at my doorstep with gift boxes. My stomach dropped, Dad would have a nuclear meltdown seeing his two least favorite people. Good evening, Mr. Sullivan. Ethan squeezed my hand, trust me. I've got this. Taking a deep breath, I let them in. Dad was watering orchids in the living room. The watering can crashed when he saw the Sullivan men. Hannah's dating Ethan. I blurted. Chaos erupted. Dad ripped a wooden rod from the plant stand. Charging like a bull. You. He jabbed the rod at Mr. Sullivan. Stole my college sweetheart. Now my daughter? Mom's voice froze everyone, what's this noise? Dad instantly shoved the rod into my hands. Scampering to her side, sweetheart. Hannah was being loud. Mom ignored him, greeting the Sullivans politely. I sighed, classic Dad. The man who once fist-fought bouncers transformed into a purring kitten around his wife. With Mom present, negotiations began properly. Ethan laid out our relationship timeline, then opened a briefcase containing property deeds and contracts. Mrs. Bennett. I'm transferring all Sullivan family assets and my personal properties to Hannah. I love her deeply. If I ever betrayed her, I'd lose everything. Mrs. Bennett. You have my word. I nudged Ethan. Are you insane? Giving me all your assets? I glanced at my mom, silently pleading, this is going too far. We can't take everything. Mom smiled serenely. Since your love is genuine, we accept the assets you've transferred. My eyes widened. I'd expected her to decline, but she'd agreed without hesitation. I turned to my dad, who stood pitifully behind Mom. Why were you looking at me? He grumbled. When I married your mom, I handed over everything too. She says money corrupts men. He muttered under his breath. Who'd believe the CEO of a company doesn't even have $10 in his pocket? Can't afford cigarettes, forced me to quit cold turkey. Mom shot him a look. Dad instantly covered his mouth. Sorry. Honey. I'll go kneel on the floor myself. After both families finished discussing terms, Mr. Sullivan helped Dad up. Relax. Old friend. I've moved on, I adore my wife now. Let's not let our past grudges affect the kids. As I walked Ethan and Mr. Sullivan out, I whispered, I can't believe Dad agreed so easily. I thought he'd throw a fit. Ethan chuckled, brushing his thumb over my nose. Your dad's not the decision maker here. This household runs on your mom's rules. We were the golden children of the Sullivan and Bennett families, the two most prominent dynasties in the city. 6 months later, we stood at the courthouse in crisp white shirts, getting our marriage license photo taken. The photographer sighed. Look at the camera. Please. Sir. Your grin's about to split your face, tone it down a notch. And step back, you're practically glued to her. Finally. He nodded. Perfect. Hold that. The camera clicked, freezing our joy in a single frame. Ethan laced his fingers through mine, his gaze unbearably tender. I might be clumsy at everything else, but loving you? That's where I'll never falter. The end.